Hello and welcome back to The Sober Scoop. My name is India Gantz. I'm your host, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about transfer addictions. Now, I usually don't use the word addiction, but transfer addiction is a common term that people use for when you used to be addicted or dependent on a substance, let's say alcohol, and then when you quit it, you pick up something else, like vaping or THC or food, sugar, sodas, caffeine. There's a lot of different, addictions that can come from quitting your previous vice. So today we're going to talk about tips for avoiding that from happening and also just more about what that is and what that looks like for some people. I do believe that you need to give yourself some grace in the beginning of sobriety. I'm not saying to go and do crazy things the moment you get sober to replace alcohol, but I talk about how you get sugar cravings after you quit alcohol. And I believe that you should be able to indulge in sugar for at least a while after sobriety. Some people say that that would get them totally addicted to sugar and food, and they would have a whole different battle to overcome after they've already quit alcohol. So we're just going to be talking about different ways to cope with cravings, different things you might experience, how to avoid the transfer addictions. And I just want to say that word addiction, take it how you will. I don't typically use that word. I prefer to use dependent, but tomato, tomato. I'm just using the word transfer addiction because it's a common term. So please just take that word with a grain of salt. I'm just using it for ease of understanding in this episode. So rant over. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome to the Sober Scoop. This is a judgment-free zone where we talk about how to get sober and stay sober. You're not alone. I hope you feel seen. Quitting alcohol is the best decision I've ever made. So, you ever heard the term California sober? That means that you quit alcohol or you don't drink alcohol, but you still smoke weed. And I've heard from people that is pretty common. A lot of people still feel that they need some sort of vice, some way to relax in sobriety without the use of alcohol. And so while I understand that, and to each their own, by the way, this entire episode, to each their own. Sobriety looks different for everyone. This is just me. Okay? And if it's not you, that's no worries. You're you, I'm me. Moving right along. California sober. I think that a lot of people have addictive personalities or, obsession, like lack of impulse control. A lot of people who struggle with alcohol have those qualities. And so I think that if you're able to overcome alcohol, something that you were like dependent on and reliant on, I don't believe it's a great idea to consume or participate in activities that are also addictive in nature. I know a lot of people have the argument with THC that it's not addictive, but people say that alcohol is not addictive too, and look what happened there. So it's, again, everyone's in their own boat. I think that if I replaced alcohol with marijuana, I wouldn't be in a good place, because that is also kind of a chill out drug, right? And so is alcohol. Like, a lot of people use alcohol to relax, quiet the mind, take the edge off. And if you were to just quit alcohol and replace it with THC, all of a sudden you're not getting to the root of the problem, which is like dealing with your hyperactivity, your restlessness, maybe your like ADHD symptoms, whatever. You're not getting to the root of that. You're just continuing to cover it up with something other than alcohol. So I think people probably get into a lot of issues picking up something else, like picking up another substance after you've quit a substance. I don't think it's a great idea, personally, at least right when you quit alcohol. And that's probably the most common one I see, is people being California sober after quitting alcohol. But other ones that I see are sugar, food, vaping, and those are very common. And I've talked about those things on a small scale. First of all, sugar. After you quit alcohol, I don't know what the science is behind it, but your alcohol or your body processes alcohol as sugar. So when you stop drinking alcohol, you have a lack of sugar and you crave it. So that's why I always say, like, eat a lot of fruit, have diet sodas around, feel free to indulge in the ice cream. There are healthier ice cream options, which I'll get into later. But you will experience sugar cravings. And I always tell people that's like super important to know going into your sobriety, that you will experience that, because I didn't know that I would experience that. And my God, it was kind of intense. And I just didn't know that that was even a thing. You quit alcohol and you crave sugar? I was like, wait, what? But when you look it up online, it's like, as I always say, I've never had a unique experience in sobriety. Of course, other people have also experienced the sugar cravings. Many people, in fact, I would go as far as to say the majority of people have experienced sugar cravings after they quit alcohol. It is so common. So you do have to be careful with that. I always say, in the beginning of sobriety, your number one priority is staying sober. Do not drink alcohol. That is the number one priority. And so I allowed myself to have the treats. I remember in the beginning, I always had ice cream in the fridge. I got a lot of mochi as well. I would get candy like from the gas station. I would get soda every time I stopped for gas at the gas station. I was just into the sugar for sure. And I still really enjoy sugar, if I'm being honest, but I've reined it in a little bit, and I've learned from having the kind of sugar cravings, and I've learned how to manage those. I believe that in the beginning, it's all about not drinking alcohol, and so give in to your sugar cravings. But if you don't think that's going to be manageable, if you think that you are going to go overboard with sugar, then maybe just be a little bit more aware of that going into it. I definitely don't want to encourage anybody to go from being reliant on alcohol to then reliant on sugar. That's the transfer addiction thing that we're talking about. And sugar wasn't something that I had to wean off of. It was just an adjustment period for me where, like, I'm having a chemical imbalance inside my body. And while I'm going through that, I gave into the sugar cravings. And then eventually I didn't crave sugar as much once I sort of evened out. I'm not saying that's going to be the same for everybody, but that's what it was for me. So just going to quick tangent here with some sugar options that are not as bad for you. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist or a dietitian, but these things are less calories and give me personally the same satisfaction as like the full sugar options. So number one, and I believe this is the frickin' cheat code to life, Nick's ice cream. Nicks. They'll have it at your grocery store, I'm sure. Now, we've all heard of like Halo Top or those other low-calorie ice creams, but in my opinion, those aren't creamy. They're like icy and bad, and they don't taste like ice cream. In my opinion, they taste horrible. Wait till you try Nick's ice cream. It is like nothing you have ever had. And you can eat an entire pint of Nick's ice cream for like, I think the highest caloric option they have is the fudge brownie or something, and it's like 320 calories for the entire thing. Compared to Ben & Jerry's, for example, which is like 1,100 calories for the entire thing. It is absolutely wild. So the reason that it is so low calorie is because it's Greek yogurt based, and so it's lower calorie because of that. It also has some nutritional benefits. There's some protein because of the Greek yogurt. It's awesome. And it still tastes creamy because it's that yogurt base. So it still has the creamy thickness of ice cream instead of those Halo Top type ice creams, which have like a layer of ice on the top and the texture is like a snow cone instead of ice cream. Nick's ice cream is creamy and delicious, and they have some of the most incredible flavors. Like, it's not actually called Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, but it's basically that. You can see it on the packaging, and it tastes exactly like Reese's Peanut Butter Cup ice cream. I don't know how to describe it other than, like, it is ice cream. It just somehow is lower calorie because of the Greek yogurt. It is wild. My favorite flavor, that one, I believe, is only like 280 calories for the entire pint. And I personally don't eat the entire pint, although you could with those calories. I probably eat about half or a third. And so I'm having like a little 100, 120 calorie dessert. that totally satisfies my sugar craving. So I love that stuff. I wish I discovered it even earlier than I did, but that's why I'm sharing with you guys, so you can have it for the beginning of your sobriety if you're just starting. Now, another tip is, of course, diet sodas, which I personally believe in like 10 years, society is going to be baffled that we were allowed to drink diet sodas, because I'm sure there's so much bad stuff in there. So I'm not like encouraging you to go drink a boatload of diet sodas, but calories for curbing the sugar cravings, it works, you know? For me, I love them. I continue to drink them. I keep saying to myself, like, I quit alcohol, for God's sake, let me have my soda. That's just my personal opinion. I do eventually want to cut down on diet sodas, or soda in general, but if you're literally suffering with sugar cravings and you just want a little something, a diet soda does the trick, in my opinion. And I looked up online how to curb your sugar cravings in sobriety, and someone talked about fruit, which, what a great solution, by the way, something that actually is from the earth and nutritious and has some health benefits. Like, okay, watermelon and pineapple are like the sugariest fruits that you can consume, but they are still all natural. Those are things that come from the earth. So yeah, they're sugary, probably more sugar than the Nix ice cream. In fact, back to the Nix, those are low sugar as well, which is pretty cool. I literally don't know how they do it, but anyway, I'm obsessed. The fruit, yeah. So fruit curbs your cravings, but it's still kind of healthy. So obviously that's a good one. And then I love candy, like just ones that you buy from the gas station, and a couple pieces usually do the trick. Some people have said that they also chew bubble gum. They have like sugar-free bubble gum that is bubblegum flavor, not like minty flavor. And that like kind of hubba bubba flavor in the Trident sugar-free, or, you know, whatever the gum brands are really awesome. I am not a big gum person, but people have said that that's what they do. So anyway, hopefully that gives you some ideas with the sugar craving situation. If you've been following the podcast for a while, you know that I love adaptogen drinks. I have talked about them in so many different episodes, and that's because they literally got me through the beginning of my sobriety. I still enjoy them to this day because they taste amazing and they're nice and relaxing on maybe an extra stressful day or a day where I'm struggling to get to sleep. But anyway, in the very beginning of my sobriety, they were essential to my success, I believe. Because as somebody who has experienced some ADHD symptoms, and like I also used to use alcohol to relax in the evenings, when I took that away, I was so hyperactive, so restless, I had literally no chill. And so adaptogen drinks definitely helped me in the evenings to just relax. And if you didn't already know, adaptogen drinks are designed to help cope with stress and promote overall well-being. They're not THC, they're not alcohol. They are natural substances like reishi, ashwagandha, rhodiola, holy basil, magnesium. So many of them have incredible ingredients that promote the body's function and also help you relax. And I've talked about Recess a lot, but another one of my favorites is Moment. And theirs are so delicious. If you haven't tried them, you need to. The flavors that I recommend are the mint lychee, or the lychee mint, I think it's called, and the plum ginseng. Those are the two best ones, in my opinion. And those are in one of their variety packs. You can check out all their different options at drinkmoment.com. And I also have a discount code for you guys. You can get 15% off with code SCOOP, SCOOP, at drinkmoment.com. If you don't drink alcohol, but you still like to have fun with your beverages, then you need to try out thezeroproof.com. This is an online non-alcoholic drinks marketplace. They have NA wines, mocktails, they have adaptogen drinks, which you guys know I love. They have everything. And I love to go to their site when I know that I'm going to be attending a party or hosting a party or celebrating something. Just the other day, I was celebrating with my family because I got a new job recently, and my mom whipped out the sparkling non-alcoholic rosé, and we poured it into champagne flutes, and we did a cheers, and it felt like a celebration. And sometimes when we've always turned to things like alcohol, champagne to celebrate things, it's nice to have something special like that, just without the booze. So check out thezeroproof.com. That's thezeroproof.com, and make sure to use code SCOOP for a discount. SCOOP is your code for 10% off at thezeroproof.com. But back to the transfer addictions. Okay. So several people have messaged me or commented that after they got sober, they fell into food addiction. And I get that, because back to the impulse control, or lack of, I should say, a lot of heavy drinkers think to themselves, I'm stressed, I want to drink, and they go crack open a drink. It's just that easy. And so sometimes we lack that impulse control. And if you don't take the time to learn about impulse control and really truly work on that inside yourself, that's how transfer addictions can happen. And it can happen with something as simple as food. And my outlook on food is so much different in sobriety. It's actually so healthy and incredible, because I'm working out and I view food as nutrition and like fueling my body. So my personal relationship with food is so incredible, and I'm really, really grateful for that. It could almost make me emotional, because I used to struggle with food a bit. Like I've been modeling since I was 16 years old, 15 really, and I've always had a bad relationship with food. Like, throwback to, I went to Thanksgiving over at my friend's house, and I didn't even eat, like, they had turkey, white meat turkey, and I wouldn't eat it because it was too high calorie. Like, I literally only ate vegetables. And I also, wow, I'm just going to lay it out there for you guys. I used to live in Greece. I was modeling there. So I would go to these different countries and live there for like 4 to 6 months and work contract modeling. When you go overseas, you can get a lot more covers. Like, it's easier to get Vogue Greece than it is to get Vogue America, obviously. So they send you all over the place to go get these amazing images. But anyway, my friend and I went on what we called the alcohol diet. Actually, that was when I was living in Milan, but same diff. It was right after Greece. We went on the alcohol diet, which is we don't eat. The only thing we consume is alcohol. That's so bad. But like, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, during my modeling days, I had such a bad relationship with food. It was crazy. Like, I just didn't really eat much. I also didn't work out. Like, I was probably so frail and malnourished. Ugh, so whack. And now that I'm doing weightlifting and prioritizing protein, like, I look at food as fuel, and it's incredible. And that's all it is to me, is fuel. Of course, there's the sugar cravings, and I just talked about having all those delicious decadent items. But in general, whatever, 70-30, 80-20, I try to be healthy, and I try to look at food as fuel. So I would hope that you're able to have that kind of relationship with food. I wish that for all the people that I care about, because how I view food now is amazing. And I eat when I'm hungry, and I get hungry because I'm fit and not filling my body with Coors Light all throughout the day. I actually get hungry, and then I fuel my body with protein and good foods. So I hope and pray that all of you listening can have a good relationship with food, because it's quite magical once you get there. But anyway, if you don't, and you are diving into food after alcohol, just know that I get that and I understand. Because like I said, with the impulse control, we used to say, I want a drink, so I'm having a drink. Now we don't have that. We think, it'd be fun to eat this cookie right now. It's sitting right there on the counter. And we just do it because we haven't learned the impulse control yet. And again, that's how the transfer addiction happens. We don't actually work on the root issue there, which is the impulse control. We mask that with other things. And so it's so easy to fall into the food addiction. And while I don't think it's necessarily important in the beginning of your sobriety, like I said earlier, like, your body will even itself out. So in the very beginning of your sobriety, I always say, listen to your body, do whatever, just don't consume alcohol. But if you know that you really, really struggle with just controlling yourself, try to work on your impulse control. that has been the key to my success in sobriety, I believe, is learning impulse control. And how you learn impulse control is when you have a craving to drink or for food or whatever. Instead of having the craving and immediately acting on it, there's a cookie on the counter. I think I'll eat it. Instead, say, why do I want that cookie? Am I hungry right now? Have I drank any water today? Am I stressed about something? Is it because it's conveniently just sitting there? Would I have reached for it if it was away in the cupboard? Just asking those types of questions. I don't know that much about the food addiction side of things because I'm blessed to have not experienced the transfer addiction into food addiction. But looking at alcohol, for example, when I would have a craving, like I want to drink, I step back and I say, why do I want that? Is it because I'm frustrated? Did somebody say something to me and I'm just like immediately thinking I want to eliminate that from my mind and make myself feel better instantly, like a Band-Aid fix? Is that why I'm craving a drink? Am I craving a drink because I'm tired? Am I craving a drink because I'm hungry? Am I craving a drink because everyone around me is drinking? Am I craving a drink because this situation reminds me of when I used to drink? Am I craving a drink because I'm alone? There's a lot of questions you can ask yourself, and once you go through that list of questions and you kind of realize why you're having this craving, you can control yourself and say, okay, I'm going to address the root problem there, whether it's the loneliness or the tiredness or the triggering situation or whatever. We need to address the actual root of the issue, so those things. And once you address those things, once you realize, oh, I'm actually just tired, maybe I'll go to bed early tonight and I'll have a quick tea before I head to bed. Then you can actually manage your cravings. And it's just all about not acting on your impulses. And that is so hard to do, but a lot of sober people learn that skill. And it's an amazing skill to have. It also just helps you in life. Like if somebody says something rude to you, instead of immediately lashing out, it makes you just think a little bit longer about the situation and how is best to move forward. I believe that impulse control is an incredible life skill that will give you the power back and make you a better human being. So impulse control is really important to avoiding transfer addiction. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about is the hand-to-mouth connection. Okay? So when we were heavy drinkers, we were constantly lifting a drink from the table to our mouths. Or we're holding a drink in our hands and it's just constant sipping, right? That motion is sometimes partially what we're addicted to or reliant on. That motion of just having things put in our mouth, or munching on stuff. And so that hand-to-mouth connection is why some people fall into the vaping, because that's also just hand-to-mouth. Puff and put it down, and then puff and put it down. And I know a lot of people who quit alcohol and get into vaping. And that has all sorts of negative health impacts as well. So definitely not a good one to fall into. And so my tip for the hand-to-mouth motion addiction is sunflower seeds. If you like sunflower seeds or are able to choose sunflower seeds, I highly recommend it. It is what I did in the beginning of my sobriety. I sat on the couch with my recess adaptogen drink and my cup to spit the seeds into. I know it's kind of gross, but I would sit and watch hours of a movie or something if I was able to actually get through a movie in early sobriety. Oh my God, I was so hyperactive and restless. But anyway, if I'm watching a show, I would eat sunflower seeds by the handful, munch on them, spit out the seeds, take another handful, munch on them, spit out the seeds. It kept my mouth going all the time, and that helped with not having alcohol in my mouth constantly. If you don't like sunflower seeds, you can also use chewing gum. That doesn't really help with the hand-to-mouth connection, but it does keep your mouth busy, which is kind of nice. But that hand-to-mouth connection, seriously, is a very common addiction in the world of alcohol. So even though you've taken away the alcohol, and then let's say you're also working on impulse control, there's also the literal muscle memory of putting something into your mouth over and over again. So that's why I always talk about having drinks at the ready in the beginning of your sobriety too. So stock the fridge with diet sodas if you want to drink those, sparkling waters, juices, what else? Whatever non-alcoholic drinks you enjoy. Get a variety of different diet sodas. I like to get Diet Sprite, Diet Root Beer, Diet Dr. Pepper, sparkling water, original, a flavored sparkling water, like everything. Get Zip Fizz, get Liquid IV, get hot chocolate, get coffee, like have things ready. Get Otter Pops, like popsicles. There are healthy popsicle options with fruit and things like that. But that will help you with the muscle memory of putting a drink to your mouth. You're still going to be putting a drink to your mouth. It's just not going to have booze in it. Hello, everybody. This is your host, India Gantz, just popping in to tell you about my new Facebook support group, and I will leave the link to join in the description. This support group is going to be a place where we can all connect and talk to each other one-on-one, ask advice, tell stories, provide information, and just connect with a sober community. The really cool thing about AA is that you actually meet people in real life and connect, and that's awesome and all, but AA was never for me, and I still love to have that feeling of a sober community and being connected with my peers. So I intend for this Facebook page to be exactly that, a place where we can connect with each other and support each other. I understand that podcasts are a place where we mostly consume and listen and we don't actively participate. Of course, I would love a review if you have a moment or a rating, but I get that usually we're just listening to podcasts to listen and not actively participate. And this Facebook page will be a space where we can all actively participate and communicate and talk to each other and message each other and connect with people in your area and just be a resource for other people looking to get sober and stay sober. So feel free to join at the link in the description. Now let's get back to the show. So to wrap up the transfer addiction conversation, I think a key part to avoiding that is impulse control. I also think that the hand-to-mouth connection is a big part of why transfer addictions happen. I think we have to be really introspective and try to observe why we feel certain ways in sobriety, and that will help us heal instead of immediately covering up that loss of alcohol with food or THC or vaping or anything else. If we just take a moment to realize, wow, I'm feeling like I want to do something else with my hands. Whatever you're feeling, whatever cravings you're having, we have to just learn to look within. It is key to success in sobriety, looking within and controlling our instant impulses, because we will have them. We are impulsive people as a whole. People who are sober were previously very impulsive and immediately acted on their impulses. So we have to be just introspective and look at what we're craving, why we're feeling that way. It's so important to just get in touch with yourself. And that will help you not fall into being reliant on a different kind of substance. That last little sentence there made me remember about doing stuff with your hands. I talk about this all the time, how I did yard work until like 11 p.m. at night. I would do house projects. I would do arts and crafts, coloring books. So I also just want to say that it's a hand-to-mouth connection, but keeping your hands busy is also really helpful. I make these balloon arches for birthday parties and events and things. And something about the repetitive nature of that was amazing for me in sobriety, in the very beginning of sobriety. Like constantly doing that with my hands was awesome. A lot of people do knitting. A lot of people do adult coloring books. So that's another way to kind of fix that addiction of hand to mouth, is doing other things with your hands. So anyways, that was the last little tidbit I just wanted to throw in there. So thank you for tuning into today's episode. I hope you found it helpful. It's hard, okay? It's not easy. It is easy to fall into other addictions after quitting one substance. So we have to be aware of it and try our very best to not fall into something else. We have to be self-aware that we are people who do get addicted to things generally. So yeah, generally speaking, okay? Not every single person. but generally it would be easy for us to fall into something else. So we need to be careful of that when we've quit alcohol. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. You guys are awesome. Make sure to join the Facebook group if you haven't already. We'd love to have you there. It is linked in the show notes. And with that said, ta-ta for now. TTFN. Bye.